It seems like a lot of people play DayZ similarly to me, which is to say, not so much going after the PvP and maybe leaning into the survival aspects of the game. I'm a big fan of the survival genre of like television and YouTube videos. I play DayZ as a survival simulator when I can, and I get the feeling based on comments on YouTube, a lot of people play DayZ similarly to me. I just think that a lot of us don't broadcast it on YouTube because we think it's maybe not the most exciting sort of footage or content that we could put out there. I also think it's worth mentioning that I don't believe this is the only way to play DayZ or the right way to play DayZ. I'm not coming from a place of authority. I'm just trying to help anyone who might be trying to live in the wilderness and survive off the land. So we're going to be traveling light for this exercise. You don't need to be fully geared to play the way that I play. I get to a point where I have a knife, a hunting rifle, bullets for the rifle, and I'm probably good to go. Live in the wilderness and survive for a pretty long time with just those supplies. I will eventually have to go back into town to find repairing items for my clothes, specifically leather repair kits, duct tape, and sewing kits. But beyond those few maintenance items, everything else I need is readily available where I live in the woods. So step 1 to living off the land, you want to hunt medium or large size game. So what I mean by that is essentially anything besides a chicken. A goat, a cow, a deer, and wolves will all serve the purpose that we need. If you're only trying to eat, fish and chicken are definitely options for food, but we want to go ahead and get a little bit more harvested from the animal that we kill. So we're going to look for, in this example, a deer that I heard. Hunting deer is essentially just waiting for them to spawn and then following the noise once you hear them. In other games that I've played where hunting is the main objective, it can be really difficult to track down deer and then kill them, but DayZ is surprisingly fairly forgiving in this regard. The deer and really all the other animals in the game make very loud noises, easy to track, and they're all easy to sneak up on. In this example, I've got a Mosin for my hunting rifle. Really, any larger caliber rifle will do. Unless you're hunting a cow, a handgun is probably not going to get the job done. After we've killed the deer, we just want to take our knife that we brought along with us to the woods and then hold right trigger to harvest all of the meat and organs from the deer. What we're going to be left with is an assortment of meat, fat, guts, and bone. Most animals will also leave a pelt or a hide as well. We want to take at least 1 stack of bones, at least 1 guts, all of the fat, and then any other inventory space we have can be used for the meat. The reasons for this will be apparent shortly. Now that we have all of the resources from the animal that we hunted, step 2 is going to be cooking. It's probably best to gather your supplies beforehand, or at least to know what you need before going into it. So, to craft a fireplace, we need 1 small stick and 1 bark. I highly recommend bringing a knife into the woods so that you don't have to worry about whether or not your tool will cut bark off of a tree. I believe that there are tools that will open, cans of food and do things that sharp objects do in the game, but may not let you take bark off of a tree. We're going to take 1 additional piece of bark and 1 small stick to create a hand drill. I think a lot of players may believe they need a lighter or matches to start a fire in this game. Seasoned players know that a hand drill kit can be crafted at any time as long as you have a sharp object to get the bark off of the tree. And you can start fires indefinitely with no need for matches or a lighter. Les Stroud would be really proud of that. When you're building a campfire, if you can, build it between some trees. You can pretty much drop the fireplace wherever you want, and the game will allow you to ignite a fire right there. If you are able to be clever about where you place your fire, you can make it essentially invisible until you get really, really close to it. The last thing you want to do in the middle of the woods is broadcast that you're cooking food, because that takes a while, and any player who spots it is going to find you just sitting there, waiting to be shot in the head. I'm going to go ahead and grab firewood for the fuel. Depending on how much meat that you've harvested and how much cooking you're about to do, it's going to affect how much firewood you actually need. And then we're going to grab one more long stick, sharpen it with our knife to create a sharpened stick. Once we have a sharpened stick, we can combine our meat or the fat with the sharpened stick, look at the fire, and hold right trigger to cook. We can use this method to cook all of the fat and meat that we harvested, but as you can see, we can only do it one piece at a time, and it will take a while. If you have brought the cooking pot with you to the wilderness, it has a few uses. You can fit 12 inventory spaces inside the pot, meaning we can fit 6 pieces of meat at a time, and obviously this makes the cooking process faster. To use a cooking pot over a campfire, you will need to craft a cooking stand. Cooking stands are very simple to craft. You need 1 long stick and 2 short sticks. I have my cooking pot filled with water. The water will boil once it reaches 100 degrees Celsius. It has been disinfected. Just like real life, the water is clean and safe to drink when it cools down. Doing this means I do not need to carry a canteen or water bottle or chlorine tabs to find pretty much unlimited supplies of drinkable water. While we wait for the food to cook, we can go ahead and use the other resources that we harvested. We have bones and guts. Both of these things are useful outside of just being bones and guts. By holding the stack of bones in our hands, and I believe you need at least 2 for this to work, you can craft them into a bone knife. You can repeat this to have multiple knives on you. I know that some players were looking at my supplies and probably wondering why I don't bring a sharpening stone with me. While the sharpening stone is absolutely great, I wouldn't tell anyone not to bring a sharpening stone if they have one. Once you start hunting and finding stacks of bones like this, you can get by for a long time by crafting new knives out of these bones. The reason that we took the guts is to craft rope. By combining a knife with the guts, we can craft 1 piece of rope. This leads us to step 3 of living in the wilderness, crafting an improvised shelter. The reason we wanted to hunt the deer first and craft rope out of its guts before we start building a shelter is because we will need to craft an improvised shelter kit. A shelter kit is comprised of 4 short sticks plus the rope that we just made. DayZ can be a little bit picky about where it allows you to place an improvised shelter. You can be strategic. They're pretty hard to spot in the wilderness, and I say that because I regularly walk right past my own and I know where they are. If you can face the opening towards some trees so that it's not just visible from 50 yards away in one direction, I'm pretty sure you have a good chance of nobody ever finding it, just based on my own experience. I've had so many shelters, more shelters than I could possibly count. I think the only time someone found mine was because I had a fully built watchtower, maybe like 50 meters away. So whoever found that watchtower was smart to scan around the area to see if I had anything else set up. Once you have found a suitable location for your improvised shelter kit, you can begin to build your shelter. To do this, you will need 4 large sticks and 50 short sticks. And yes, gathering 50 short sticks is as tedious as it sounds. I don't really know the most efficient way to do it. I figure even the most efficient way of doing it may shave off a minute or 2 of the process. Where I picked to live has this grove of small trees, essentially limitless amount of short sticks for me in a really short contained area. This is really great so I don't get lost hunting for short sticks, you kind of start looking for small trees and aren't paying as much attention to where you're going. You're just following the short trees. And before you know it, those little improvised shelter kits can be pretty tough to find until the shelter is built. So I go here, I gather all the short sticks that I need, hopefully as many short sticks as I can carry anyway, and then bring everything back at once if I can. Once you've crafted an improvised shelter, you now have 100 storage space to store any of the meat that you cooked, obviously any other supplies that you found along the way. Living like this is fairly sustainable, and I know that I'm not the only one playing the game this way. If you are looking to live like this, download I Survive, or scope out a map of Trinaris anyway, and find a place that doesn't have any points of interest. That's really the best way to stay safe, is to have nothing around you that someone would want to go to and then stumble across your base. The other thing is finding a place that has a river or a stream nearby that you can regularly and easily fill up your water bottle, canteen, or cooking pot if you're fortunate enough to have one. If you can get a feel for where the wildlife will spawn, I am constantly hearing deer all around me in all directions out here in the woods. Also, if I ever can't find deer, I swear to God, I just have to wait 4 minutes and wolves will come attack me. And as long as you have a good enough gun to defend yourself from the wolves, that is Uber Eats. A bunch of meat, guts, and bones delivered directly to your door, usually in like 60 seconds or less. Well, that is pretty much it in a nutshell, how I can live in the wilderness in DayZ for extended periods of time. If you have anything else to add to the tips that might help someone live off the land, like with any of my DayZ videos, please comment it below. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe out there, everyone.